There has now been a massive shakeup in the 2026 Senate elections. Lara Trump, the daughter-in-law of President Donald Trump, is seriously considering a run for North Carolina's open Senate seat. As we all know, incumbent Senator Thom Tillis is stepping aside, announcing that he will not run for re-election in 2026. He's a Republican who's held the North Carolina's Class 2 Senate seat since 2015 and just announced 2 days ago that he will not run for re-election in 2026. Now, this came just one day after Tillis voted against President Donald Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill, a massive spending bill and tax cut package that split the GOP as of right now. And the reality is that Lara Trump, she has had her eyes on the Senate race in North Carolina. Whether it was in 2022, whether it was in 2026, she has her eyes on it. Remember, take a step back in history. Go back in the Senate election, 2022, you had incumbent Senator Richard Burr announced he was not going to seek re-election. Obviously, at that time, Ted Budd ended up running. He won this race over his Democratic opponent by roughly about 2.5, 3 percentage points in this race. He was a former representative who represented North Carolina. But Lara Trump had very much considered running in this race here. And so when she decided that she was not going to run, there was a lot of eyeballs looking at 2026. Even before Thom Tillis announced that he was not going to run for re-election, there was a lot of eyeballs on this. Look, in 2024, you look at 2026, there was a poll taken earlier this year between Thom Tillis and Lara Trump from Victory Insights in November of 24, showing that Thom Tillis losing to Lara Trump in a primary, 65-11. 65-11. So her name has 100% been in this election even before Thom Tillis announced that he was not going to run for re-election in 2026. Now, Tillis' departure opens up a critical battleground state in North Carolina. We know North Carolina is a purple state. Donald Trump won the state by roughly about 3.5 percentage points in 2024, won it by about 1.3 in 2020, won it by close to 4 points in 2016. But Democrats have been gaining ground with urban and suburban voters in the state of North Carolina. And right now, Republicans hold a 53-47 Senate majority. And losing this seat will tighten the Democrats' grip on power. Now, the 2026 midterms are shaping up as a referendum on the Trump's second term, like it historically is. And North Carolina is going to be ground zero for what will happen. Now, an open seat is a rare opportunity. Without an incumbent, both parties are scrambling to field strong candidates. And for Republicans, it is a chance to energize the base with a more Trump-aligned figure. And for Democrats, it's their best shot they've had at flipping the seat since 2008. But a word to the wise, or from, I don't want to say from the wise because I don't consider myself that wise, but be careful. This is a purple state here. This is not a state that's going to vote for Donald Trump by 10, 20, 30 percentage points. Remember that. On the Cook Partisan Voting Index, we can see right here, North Carolina has a Republican plus one partisan voting index. Okay, this is not voting for Donald Trump by 10 percentage points. You cannot find the most conservative MAGA-aligned candidate that you possibly can. They will lose in a general election. They will. No matter how well their name recognition is, no matter how good they fundraise, no matter how much they energize the base, you need to be able to have the raw votes to win. You either need to bring out low propensity voters, solve that issue that Donald Trump, it's going to be a big issue. Donald Trump brought out a lot of low propensity voters. How can you get them to turn out in 2026? Or you need to have appeal to moderates, independents, Democrats, moderate Republicans, all across the board. Those are the two ways you can go about this. And now, with Lara Trump potentially entering this race, the former co-chair of the Republican National Committee and current Fox News host is taking a strong look at running, according to many sources close to her. Many people. There were 3 people in specific who, based on, we don't have their names, but have said that she is seriously considering a run. She was born in Wilmington, North Carolina, and graduated from North Carolina State University and has deep ties to the state. Now, when she married Eric Trump, President Donald Trump's son, they faced a furious campaign surrogate and known for her accountability, or I should say ability to connect with grassroots conservatives. Now, in Laura's appeal, I think a lot of it is her last name, but she's also a powerhouse. There's a lot that isn't her last name. She is disciplined on the campaign trail and resonates with the MAGA base that's grown frustrated with more establishment Republicans like Tillis, who was censured by the North Carolina Republican Party in 2023 for supporting same-sex marriage legislation and immigration reform. Now, her potential candidacy could unify a fractured party in the Republican Party in North Carolina and boost turnout among Trump loyalists who often skip midterms. But you could also see many moderates, many independents who are turned off by the fact if she is too much of a hardcore conservative who is running in this race. So it's definitely not a done deal. It's not a done deal. And there's many other people who could run in this race as well. Most people are right now kind of sitting on the sidelines waiting for Lara Trump to make her move. From what we can see, it is her race to bow out of. This is her nomination if she wants it. Obviously, it's not guaranteed that she gets the nomination, but with Trump's backing, it's almost guaranteed she will get the nomination. But if Lara Trump passes, the GOP field is wide open with several names being floated, like former RNC co-chair Michael Whately, a former North Carolina GOP leader and a strong contender if he were to receive Donald Trump's blessing. He has deep party ties and could consolidate establishment and MAGA conservative support. Some other people that have been thrown out there is freshman Congressman Pat Harrington, who is also eyeing a bid backed by Trump, some people in the Trump orbit, and other people like Representative Tim Moore or Brad Knott, along with four-term Congressman Greg Murphy, are also potential candidates to run in this race. Now, the key question is, if Lara runs, will the others step aside? It seems most likely. Her father-in-law's endorsement, Donald Trump's endorsement, would clear the field, avoiding a messy primary that risks alienating a lot of voters. And one strategist told Axios that Lara has, quote, the right of first refusal on Trump's support. Now, on the Democrat side, you kind of have a completely different ballgame that's occurring right now. Former Governor Roy Cooper is the heavyweight to watch. Cooper, who left office in 2025 due to term limits, is leaning towards a run. According to Axios, in a November 2024 poll showed him edging out Lara Trump roughly by about a point in a hypothetical matchup. In a hypothetical, general election matchup, Lara Trump was edged out by Roy Cooper by it's about a point and a half in here that you're looking at. Now, right now, former Congressman Wiley Nickel is already in the race, declaring in April 2025 that he would run. He's a one-term House member. He flipped a tough seat before saying no matter which MAGA loyalist Donald Trump handpicks, he's ready to take him on. He's going to take on anyone who they throw at him. But other potential Democrats include Attorney General Jeff Jackson, Lieutenant Governor Rachel Hunt, Representative Alma Adams. But Cooper's entry is he's the behemoth. He's the 600-pound gorilla in this room. Let's not kid ourselves here. He is 100% seen as the guy. This will be his nomination if he wants it to be. He has deep ties to the state. But the reality is this race matters so much more than who's going to run in it and exactly how things go. This race is more than just about a Senate seat. It is a test of Donald Trump enduring his influence in the GOP. If Lara Trump runs and she wins, it will solidify the Trump brand as a kingmaker in red and purple states. But if she falters or Democrats flip the seat, it could signal that the MAGA coalition is not as strong in some of these more purpley states. We saw this happen before. Look in the Senate. Go back to 2022. You saw, look, Blake Masters. He was the Republican nominee for Senate in Arizona. You saw Democrats win this seat by 5 points. You saw the same thing in Pennsylvania. John Fetterman beat out Mehmet Oz, who was a very poor candidate. You saw in Georgia, Raphael Warnock beat out Herschel Walker in this election. Okay, these are all very poor candidates in this race. You look on the governor's side. Carrie Lake ran against Katie Hobbs. She lost by a half a percentage point. Doug Mastriano in the state of Pennsylvania. You look at Tudor Dixon in Michigan. You look at, not as much in Wisconsin. This was kind of a different story. Tim Michaels, he ran a much better campaign than anyone else. You could say Tudor Dixon or Doug Mastriano. But who is winning? More of, I don't want to say establishment figure, but more, tried and true conservatives are winning in a good year. You look in North Carolina, you have Sununu's winning. You have Phil Scott winning in Vermont. You have Brian Kemp winning in Georgia. Ron DeSantis winning in Florida. Greg Abbott winning in Texas. Your tried and true Republicans are winning They're winning here. Look, North Carolina voted for Roy Cooper by 4.5 points at the same time they voted for Trump by 1.5 points. Go to 2024. Look on the Senate side. The same thing's true. Carrie Lake runs for the Senate in 2024, loses to Ruben Gallego. It's like, really? Really? Are we just going to nominate the craziest people we can possibly find? That's kind of a stupid idea. You look at Royce White in Minnesota. He didn't really have a chance to begin with, but look, Klobuchar still beating him by 16 points. They need to be careful. You need to look at this through the lens of reality, not the reality or this figment of your imagination that you want to exist. You need to look at it through the lens of reality. Because North Carolina, this is going to be probably the most expensive race and intense race in 2026 alongside Georgia, with Democrats defending 2 tough seats in Michigan and Georgia, and Republicans eyeing pickups in states like New Hampshire, places like Michigan, like Georgia. Democrats are really going to go on the offensive in Maine, in North Carolina. And a GOP loss here would shrink the majority, giving Democrats leverage over the Trump agenda, which ultimately is going to make that big of a difference. No, it's not. Because at the end of the day, if you're looking here, the Senate, this is what's in play. If you're looking at truly what's in play here, it's like I shouldn't even say in play. These are the competitive races here. But it's fair to say Minnesota and New Hampshire are both lean Democrat, and I had this as a tilt for the Republican Party. Now I just have this as a toss-up. Also, Maine is still a lean for the Republican Party. So these are the battlegrounds right here. But still, even if Democrats sweep, they pick up Michigan, they pick up Georgia, they pick up North Carolina, they still only have 48 seats. They need to pick up Maine, and they got to pick up somewhere else. Maybe Alaska, maybe Iowa, maybe Ohio, maybe an independent and Dan Osborne wins in Nebraska. That's kind of where you're at right now. But what do you think? Do you think Lara Trump is the right choice for Republicans in North Carolina to keep it red? Or do you think Democrats will seize on this opportunity in this open seat? Drop your thoughts down below in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are. As always, drop down below, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you never miss another video from us again in the future. And folks, we will catch you next time.